Hello, and welcome to Tank Trouble Milestone 4. In this milestone, the goal was to have functioning UI and menu screens, as well as sound effects. And so, first up, I have my title menu script for the beginning screen that you will see when the game is started. And so, to start, I essentially pause the game, so that way it will not generate the map before anything happens. And then I have the various buttons set up. So the start game button will, as it suggests, start the game. And then it will set the other screens to inactive, and then the HUD active. And then it will unpause the game and generate the map. When you click the options button, it'll bring you to the options menu, which I will showcase later. And then the quit button will quit the game. I also have a return button connected to the options menu that allows you to go back to the title menu. And then the game over screen, which is meant to pop up once both players run out of lives. Although that is currently a little buggy. For the options menu script, I have an audio mixer, and I have a way to check, or I have a toggle set up to check whether or not it is a 1 or 2 player game. Here I have my code for selecting the level of the day if the user decides to use that. I also have a seed input, as well as 2 functions to adjust the music volume as well as the sound effects volume. Next, I have my HUD controller script, which is meant to keep track of the score the player accumulates as they're going along, as well as the number of lives they have. Currently, I do not have the scoring set up, so the HUD controller doesn't officially do anything currently. Next is my game manager. I have the start of the scoring, but as I already said, it is not properly implemented. I also have variables to gain access to the map generator and keep track of the number of players and how many there are, or whether or not it is a 1 or 2 player game. Down here in Start, you will see I instantiate the player immediately at approximately 000, so that way the camera is still active in the scene, but you can't actually play anything because you will be at the menu. And then here I have my spawning mechanic for 1 and 2 players respectively. The respawn mechanic to set them to a random spawn point in the map if they run out of health. And then the spawning enemy function. Next, I have the camera controller script, which I did showcase a little bit in the last video. I do not believe it has changed much, but there was a point when I did remove it and then now put it back in, and it does function properly. Here in the AI controller, not much has changed from the last time. The main difference being that now all the AIs will check for not just 1 target, but potentially 2, whether or not there is 1 or 2 players, and will treat them equally. I also went ahead and put the shooting method. I took that off of the AI controller and input manager scripts and put them into tank motor, since both enemies and players access the shoot mechanic instead of repeating it twice. Went ahead and put it on one script that they both have to keep things simpler. Here on the bullet script, you can see, where is it? Actually, the bullet script has not changed. Here on the input manager, I have slightly fixed the input mechanics. The WASD movement scheme was perfectly fine, but there were a couple of errors in the arrow key setup. For one, I accidentally reversed the rotations. That is fixed now, and before it was still set to where when you press the spacebar, both players would shoot. Now the second player, or whoever is using the arrow keys, will have to press the 0 key in order to fire, so that way they don't fire at the exact same time as player 1. And then you might have noticed throughout these scripts that I've been showing you, I have these 2 lines of code relating to audio sources commented out. That is because while I do have all the necessary audio files, they are constantly throwing a null reference exception and will not allow me to play the sound or play the game due to this null reference exception. So for the time being, I have commented out all of the audio source lines of code, so that way I can hopefully fix them in the future. But right now, the game is still silent as it has been since the beginning. Let's see, here I have the tank data script, which has changed slightly. I now have finally put in the lives mechanic, and then down here I have it set to, it is supposed to play a explosion sound when the player dies, or when an enemy dies. And then it will subtract the number of lives if the current health is less than or equal to 0. And then as long as they have more than 0 lives, they will still be able to respawn. And now for Unity itself. Here you can see my title screen with the title, a very basic black background image, as well as a panel with the 3 buttons, all properly functioning. Let's see, and now I have the options menu, which has the toggle for 2-player game, toggle for level of the day. You can enter the map seed if you wish, the 2 sliders for music volume and sound effects volume, and then the return button. The very basic game over screen, which gives the player the option to either quit or restart the game. The HUD, the HUD right now, it does have 2 sets of text to record the number of lives and the score, as well as an image that is meant to have a heart, just to pair with the lives text. But as previously stated, the HUD UI is currently buggy and will not work. So there is that, sadly. And now I will go ahead and show you the gameplay. So here, it's the title screen. You can click options and toggle these, check them out. I'll just go ahead and leave that in there. So now the map will generate based on the number 132, as that is now currently its seed. I can click return to go back here. If I hit quit, you'll see down here it does have the debug to quit the game. But now I will go ahead and start. Currently I am only showing one player. For some reason, and I'm not fully understanding why, the AI no longer destroys the player on contact like it did previously. However, the player can still lose or take damage from bullets as well as lose lives. But let me go ahead and show you two-player. As you can see, we have the split screen. The top is player 1, which I am controlling using WASD and spacebar to shoot. And then down here, we have player 2, which I'm controlling using the arrow keys and the 0 key to shoot. The pickups still exist and work, although, as previously stated, the sound mechanics aren't fully working, so sadly they cannot play the sound as intended. And also, as previously stated, that despite having a functioning live system, when the players run out of lives, the game over screen will not appear. I also created a brand new script called Audio Clips, which simply holds all of my different audio clips that I have collected. I have game music for actual gameplay. I do have menu music, a sound for when the bullet hits a target, a sound when you click anything within the menu, a sound for when you pick up a power-up, the death sound, and the cannon fire sound. Went ahead and separated them into their own special folders. And then here you can see my audio mixer with groups for sound effects and music. And that is the current state of Tank Takedown, excuse me. Thank you very much for watching, and have yourselves a fantastic day.